So I'll call to order the October 11th, 2022 monthly Zoom call meeting of the US Chess Executive Board, and we'll call the roll. Randy Bauer, present. Vice President Kevin Pryor.
Present.
Vice President of Finance Chuck Unruh.
Present.
Member at Large Mike Hoffpower.
Here.
Member at Large David Hayter. David, you're on mute.
I'm here.
Oh,
Present.
thank you. Member at Large David Day.
Here.
Member at Large John Fernandez.
Present.
With help in the background. And Executive Director Carol Meyer.
Here.
So we're all present and accounted for. We have a quorum. We're going to start an open session. We've done the call to order. Disclosure, are there any executive board members that wish to disclose a new conflict of interest?
Yeah, this is Mike. If we talk about the Dinker and the Barber or whatever those cases tonight, I have a conflict of interest with the player from Virginia for that discussion.
And I'm curious, I was of the impression we only disclosed financial conflicts of interest in this at this point, but is that, I don't know, this is kind of new to me.
I mean, it's just my interest would conflict with, with.
Yeah, I think that's something
so-
we would raise anyway. No financial conflicts of interest? Okay, so moving on, there were minutes distributed in the packet that Carol sent around for the executive board meeting on September 13th, 2022. That was a Zoom meeting. Did anybody have any changes to the minutes as distributed? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved by the creator of the minutes, Victor Fun Pong. Is there a second?
Seconded.
It's seconded by Large Member John Fernandez. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes 8-0. Next on the agenda is a financial report for the first quarter of 2023. I know that we now also have some, I think the final of, or at least a new draft of the audit. Is that right also, Carol? Are we going to discuss that during this time period?
So before Chuck gets to the first quarter review, we did receive the draft financials for last fiscal year, audited financials yesterday. And at about 4 o'clock today, we received the draft 990. We wanted the board to see the 990 because we have some deadlines. The 15th of October, many of our charitable solicitation registrations are due. And so we'd like to meet as many of those as possible without having to pay a penalty for being late.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So if people could review the 990s as quickly as possible, I mean, like by tomorrow or what, Carol, is kind of a deadline for?
I think if we had, the board's review and blessing by the end of Thursday, that will give Deborah enough time. She can start working on the registration paperwork.
Okay. I mean, we don't have to approve. I mean, we don't have to take a formal vote of approval.
No,
Right.
no,
I mean,
but there
this
is a box we check that, says the board has seen this before it gets filed, and it's
Okay.
important that the board takes a look at it and raise any, how
Okay.
about noon Thursday?
So basically, please take a look. And if you have not raised any issues by noon on Thursday, we'll consider it concluded. That's both the audited statement and the 990. Okay.
No, we're still correcting the audited statement. Is that right? There's some minor corrections.
Yeah, I have actually not been through it with a fine tooth comb. I haven't been through either document with a fine tooth comb. So, yeah, there's
Okay.
always something.
Something small. Then we got to get it to the audit committee. So,
Yeah, I mean, but the 990 is what we have to get submitted. That's the October.
oh,
15th,
absolutely. We go forward with the 990. We can play with the audit later.
Right. Well, you have more fun with audits than I do, I guess, but yeah, sure, that's right.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a responsible party.
And we appreciate that. Okay, so that's kind of the order of operation for the 990 and the audit. Chuck, do you want to give us a quick overview on where we're at? I saw that there's a
I
dashboard.
drove all day and didn't get to open it up.
Really?
I'm returning from a tournament and I just saw my email about 15 minutes ago. So I don't have any review on the financials. That's all new. It's all late. And over this weekend, I'll spend some time with them.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't, in the packet, this is new right now, the dashboard,
Mhm.
which is nice. Gives us some kind of visual representation of some, kind of the key pieces of data. And Carol, is this kind of, are we presenting this as sort of an illustration of what this might look like, kind of, I mean, are
So-
we looking for input?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen a version of this dashboard previously, and Chuck, David Day, and I met with our CFO team, and emphasized that we wanted information that was more digestible than the every GL account coming out on the financials. So the dashboard view is certainly something we can adjust if there are things on there that we'd like to see that's doable. These will be produced on a quarterly basis. Regarding the formatting of the financial statements themselves, they too are more consolidated than the long every line item previously. That data is available if anybody wants to see and do the deep dive into that. But I think this is the format or something close to this that we'll be presenting quarterly and posting on the website, just because it makes more sense.
Yes,
I mean,
I agree with you, Carol. The reason I didn't bring up the dashboard is very positive, but it links back to the audit. We're not 100% convinced that the dashboard would be correct at this point, because we needed the audit in order to do the last quarter. So
Okay.
some of the good news in the dashboard is membership's up. We do know that. We don't need an audited statement for it. We know that investments have been lagging, and we're still have some type of positive on the bottom line. So the business is, through cost controls and such, appears to be very, very solid. So thanks to Carol and her staff for carrying the quarter. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the highlighted financial data is a little confusing to me, so maybe this is something we can discuss at another time. I mean, I don't understand
Okay.
the cash equivalents. It's different by over 500,000. I understand investments are going to lag, and then on the total current assets, they're down again another like 500,000, which I guess carries through from that. But then I see I don't understand some of this stuff as to what's causing it, like the cash burn amount, being again $500,000. But then when
I
look,
think I have an answer for that.
okay,
Yes,
This
we do,
was-
don't we?
Yeah, I asked the same question.
Yeah, okay,
And
good.
had the team dig into it. So this was an Olympiad year. We
Yeah.
also resumed the World Youth and World Cadet Championships. That was 200 and some odd, it was over $250,000 right then and there. So
Okay.
that's just cash out the door. Then we also had significant attrition penalties that actually are hitting this year. Even
Okay.
though I think they got booked to last year's event. The cash went out this year. In fact, we
Okay.
got, we paid the last bill from the elementary, one of the elementary hotels this week. We got it
This,
last,
this is cash, not accrual.
right.
Yeah, okay, I'm starting to understand. Okay, well, that's good. Those
Yeah.
kinds of explanations we'll be able to figure out. And I mean, as we see this and we're kind of more familiar with it,
Yeah.
that'll be good. So that's the
that-
questions that I had when I looked at it.
That's why I do like this format, is I think that's what all of our eyes went to, and that's what we really needed to be looking at is
Yeah,
that.
Good
And so that explanation I think is super helpful.
Yeah. Mr. President, on the investment side, the quarter was accented by cash deposits with banks. We're now able to get upwards of 4.3%
yeah,
on the 1 year. So we've developed several CD ladders and put at least 500,000 to work in cash deposits during the quarter. That will have a bottom line impact in the next year in the RF alone of 24,000 additional dollars.
yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be invested as much as we are in cash, it's nice when you can get 4.25 instead of a quarter in terms of an interest
Yes.
rate.
7 months ago, the same CD brought 1.1% at 1 year.
Yeah,
So the slope of this curve is steeper than the slope of the famous Volcker period, where it went to 18%. He was at 12% before they went to 18. That's a 50% increase. Here we've had a 300% increase.
from 1 to 4, or it's
So-
1 to, yeah.
But we're still getting the distributions, and at most we're off a total of, in aggregate, probably 6% in this market. That's been our, drawdown of value. We haven't sold anything.
Okay. Any other questions for Chuck or Carol? Okay, I think that's it for open session, right? So are we, okay, so we've been meeting in closed session for nearly 2 hours, covered a variety of subjects, and we have several motions coming out of it. Before we have those motions, one of the topics that was discussed was the U.S. Senior Women's Championship. We have directed the Director of National Events to issue a request for proposals for that tournament. So if you are interested in that event, be on the lookout for that. We have, as I said, several motions that are coming out of closed session. I believe that the first motion is Mike Hoffpowers dealing with the chest motor device.
Yes, I move that the executive board approve the letter of certification for the software upgrade made to the chest noter electronic chest notation device produced and marketed by Black Mirror Studio. Board approval authorizes the president to sign the letter of certification.
You have the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries 8-0.
One point,
Next.
Randy, one point we did want to note that, David Hayter and I direct a lot of large tournaments, and a lot of large tournaments, as directors, we will often not allow players to use them because it's very difficult for tournament directors to oversee a lot of electronic notation devices. And when you have a device that's capable of having a different look and feel customized by player, it becomes more difficult for the tournament directors to make sure that somebody has not in fact modified a device and changed it in some way. So that's why we, as directors, David and I would strongly recommend that directors give that consideration as they plan their tournaments. And, small tournaments, that kind of thing is easy to manage, but larger tournaments, it could be a difficulty.
A point well taken. The next motion from the executive board, and it relates to an advanced delegate motion and direction from the delegates at their last meeting. The executive board moves to create a task force to study, investigate, and issue a report and recommendation regarding the feasibility of hybrid delegates meetings that would allow remote participation. The executive board appoints the following members to that task force: John Fernandez, Chair; Mike Hoffpower, Hal Terry, John Rockefeller, Beatrice Marinello, and Dwayne Barber. Is there, well, the executive board has made that motion. We don't need a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. The next motion is by the executive board. The executive board moves to authorize the executive director to enter into a contract with Wagon Maker and Oberly LLC for legal services. Again, this is a motion from the executive board. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Let's see. Then we have a motion from John Fernandez related to the Chestnut Education Committee.
Yes, just to update the membership. The executive board moves to modify the membership of the Chestnut Education Committee to the following: Renee Bartlett and John Galvin as co-chairs, Jeff Bulington, Ursula Bird, Victor Flores, Gabriel Mosier, Richard Pointer, Sophia Rode, Abel Talamantes, Brian Tillis, Mark Indermar, Christina Mullinax, Adam Porth, and Sean Smith.
We have the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 8-0. Were there any other motions that I have missed, or did we dispose of all of them?
Mr. President, I have more housekeeping motion for you.
Okay,
The executive board moves to restore activity requirements for player eligibility top 100 lists effective January 1, 2023. The
right,
activity
thank you. Go
for
ahead.
each category for which a player might qualify.
Thank you, Fun. I forgot about that one. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. I think that disposes of all the motions. We made it by 2 hours, so David Hayter doesn't have to turn into a pumpkin. And appreciate everybody's participation tonight. Lots of good discussions and several useful, important motions. Any other final comments? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Good to see everyone.
Good to see you too.